I feel like we need to see more from them here because Gory has been our pretty much our best mid laner all split, but he's not been pinched all that hard until today.
Yeah, getting a little bit targeted in the pick ban phase, and also just the fact that he gets his Azir denied away once again, goes back towards the Talia, and this time around, I like the fact that they combine it with the Vi, a little bit more kill pressure in this mid lane, or mid jungle duo. So for PSG, I think the approach is going to be throw a lot of attention into this mid lane, allow then, once Gory hits level 6, to start traversing the map and really hit up the side lanes, naming that bot lane, and try and set up for a bot 4v2 or even a 4v3 dive situation.
Yeah, we got to remember what these teams are fighting for, right? Because as we've talked a lot about the kind of new rivalry that's taken form, it's a head-to-head overall from the start of the year till now at 7-7, dead even, including that first game. Both of these teams want to go to Worlds. And whoever wins the series is just one more series win away from guaranteed.
Yes.
Our top two teams both end up the World Championship in the PCS. One will be in the main event. One has to go through plans, depending on who wins the grand finals. But PSG have been our representatives for a long time. They are the 3-time champions, back-to-back-to-back. And they even have another one from 2020 spring, the first split of the PCS. But that summer, the one blemish on their record, well, it was Machi Esports with the side of Mission Gemini and Koala that did it. And you bet they would love to be back at that big event, hoist the trophy again for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, Russ playing well with the vision. But Hanabi on the Gnar, of course, being that ranged champion, should have a pretty reasonable time in this lane. And it's, when it comes to just straight up lane phase, all eyes are on Koala and should in this bottom lane. Are they able to hold their own against Unified and Kai Wing this time around? Because this time around, it's the affiliate Nautilus that should have the lane advantage. It's going to boil down to Koala being able to disengage well and find good short trades to keep this lane in a good spot. But when it comes to lane influence, with Bury on this Vi pick, should be a little bit more influential and have a little bit more playmaking than the Sejuani. It's just a matter of where does he turn his attention to, and I feel like it should be mid.
Yeah, he was shadowing mid a fair bit previously. You know, we talked about the difference between these two junglers. Gemini tends to rock a very, very low jungle proximity. He's more of a power farmer. The Sejuani works wonders for him because you're not really going to be involved till 6 in a lot of cases. Bury, it's the same, but that Vi does have some options. And speaking of, he's in the mid lane right now, waiting for Mission to overstep at Mission.
Great pathing.
Does play to strong side as there's a start down on bot. Kaiwing does get hand shook as he dredge lines in, and the damage trade looks like it goes pretty close to even here. A little bit in favor of PSG, I think.
Yeah, a little bit more towards PSG because they are going to have just a slight bit more sustain, but this could be a
for a dive.
very
There's
early
no Narbar.
dive.
There is no Narbar here, and Rest is feeling himself. Remember, patch 12.14, this Gnar suffered some serious hits. It's an old Hanabi favorite. One of the reasons we thought he might struggle is champion pool.
Oh, the wave
definitely drained,
cut
but
off.
the wave gets cut there.
They
Gemini does take a tower shot. Hanabi, oh
they
boy.
shouldn't be able to do this. This dive is taking way too much time to...
I don't think it's happening
Yeah.
at all.
A really smart play coming in from Hanabi, being able to cut off the wave before it actually hit that tower. And Gemini, I mean, he does the best thing he can do in that moment is just sit in the bush, recall, and apply invisible pressure onto Hanabi. Bury now up in this top side, showing himself on the board, so things kind of go back to neutral.
That actually helps PSG a lot. Like Gemini... Yeah. Gemini is just a little bit faster on the draw in the farm game. I think that buys a little bit of breathing room, and Bury able to match means, unlike last game, he should probably have ult about the same time. Kyling on a roam gets some warding down of his own bottom side, so all things considered, the PSG early game plan is going well. Hanabi not even losing out in the farm game to rest. Not by that much, as the wave will crash.
Kaiwing could look for a flash play here.
Oh, into the hook, and actually, Mission isn't able to get in the clear in time, and it looks so easy for Gory to finish that off with a threaded volley for first blood.
And there was a bit of a misplay coming in from Mission with the hook coming out. He should have just gone ahead and flashed for it. Gemini going for a little bit of harass, gets flicked back. He's in trouble.
Shove. Furry was there, and he does have the Vault Breaker. Now the damage is on, but Furry tanks a few tower shots. They can't finish it. No mana for Gory. So unfortunately, they don't get a 2-for-1 special, but already a much better early game out of the PSG Talon side.
And we were talking about, hey, it has to be a play into this mid lane, open things up, open the map, and give Gory opportunities to start making plays with this global pressure offered by the Talia. And so far, step one has been accomplished. They found a gang into the mid lane. Mission, though, still has his flash, and you better believe if Kaiwing does show up again in this mid lane, Mission will use that flash instead of trying to shuffle his way out.
Yeah, he'll have to. That's a respect play at that moment. Now, Burry and Kaiwing going to duo it up and setting up Death Brush. I think his game senses were tingling, or he saw him just off the edge. And I really like Kaiwing on a tank champion. Like, I loved him in previous splits on Enchanters, but pathing-wise, he feels so much more comfortable. He's able to throw his weight around a little more. There's a reason Nautilus is such a heavily contested pick in our region.
Yeah,
it does buy some time for Shen to move forward.
It opens things up too, right? Because then instead of just trying to track Burry and his jungle pathing, you need to be weary of the second ganker, which is going to be Kaiwing on the Nautilus pick. So it helps alleviate things for Burry as well, make his job a little bit easier when he starts making his moves around the map. And it is a nice first blood, but at the same time, CFO still not really phased by that first blood gold.
No, I think if anything, you do have to worry if Mission starts getting camped. He does have a known tendency to get a little tilted. But yeah, right now, they don't seem to be in too much trouble. The handshake does go through, and I think the thing that's allowed Kaiwing to get his roam on and get that ward coverage up, I think they probably saw Gemini, unless he was able to sneak around the ward vision, is that there just isn't as much pressure for this lane. Like, compared to a Draven Ashe, Zeri and Renata Glask is, yeah, it's not all that bad. Also, you're not playing on a timer, right? Because Unified has Aphelios. There's a reason they put so much prio on this champion. Sure, it's a little behind in CS, but I think Unified's right in the middle of his comfort zone.
Well, it's still going to have a bit of a range issue as the game progresses, but you're not going to be lacking the damage, which was a big issue in the previous game on the Blizzard. Even though he was doing all right, but more attention in the mid lane. It's 2v2.
Both junglers. Burry spotted, though. Mission knows this. There is knowledge. They're going to try and get the bait play on. If he doesn't dash the wall, Gemini is still in the dark. Gory stepping forward here. Playing with fire and into the immediate ice bola. They find the damage. The blue smite's on, looking for the extra. The shove back. However, here comes the turn into the Emperor's Divide. Burry caught on the opposite side of the map, forced to flash away from that one, and nobody goes down. But a whole lot of summoners expended on the PSG side.
Oh man, Gemini with the spidey senses, knowing that surely with the level 6 Vi play, you want to make a play into that mid lane, right? And it was just perhaps a little bit too telegraphed, right? And as a result, the match is there, and it's the side of CFO that come out with the summoners advantage.
Oh yeah. Right now, despite the fact that play did end up fizzling, PSG have been able to play it pretty well across the rest of the map. Gemini going to start on Herald, and Burry is here to contest. Mission is here to join. We might get our first proper skirmish of the game if this commitment happens. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. Gory finds Mission. This time, your respect flashes that. He still gets shoved onto the unraveled earth. However, now, he's going to have to hope he can slide and glide his way to safety. There he goes, but the Herald has been stopped. Rest tries to keep it aggroed, but it gets tired, gives up the chase.
With Kaiwing making his way over, it does mean PSG might have the ability to just commit to it, but they actually end up pulling off. So this is feels like one of those classic PSG setups where if it's not a 90-10, we're not just gonna we won't take that play during the early game. It's we want to be super sure, and that might just come from the fact that, again, the communication might not be fully fleshed out, but they will eventually turn their attention towards this Rift Herald
and walk away with it. So
okay.
Extended, a little slow, a little cautious, but they do win the race, slow and steady. I think CFO a little bit behind in the gold game here, but they do have some late game power for themselves. We are definitely in for a less bloody match thus far, as we take a look at how the gold has shifted over time, now into PSG's favor. Despite some play attempts made mid, not yielding any further results for the Taliyah. I do got to hand it to PSG there. They're not looking too bad. 10 CS down in the top lane for Hanabi, but he has not been pushed out too far. He hasn't been bullied too much, and he hasn't even had any help from Bury this time. And that Gnar, you know, we talked about a win condition for CFO being, hey, maybe they can shove a lane, maybe they can win one up in the top because Hanabi is having a hard time. Well, he's been able to keep this Renekton at arm's length. As Bury is hoping to do the same, but he does get bodied by the rest of CFO, and Shun was right in the middle of that with the lightning crash, doesn't get the kill, goes to Gemini, and that opens up, well, just about whatever the heck CFO want. I think this will probably be a late first rate.
It's going to be a late first rate because of the fact that it is Cloud, so not as much battle stats, but the side of PSG, they are getting a little bit feisty here.
It's not 90-10, Nightstar. I think they look at it wistfully, back away from this one. The gold game just about even. CFO will pick that up. It will be an Infernal next time, and that is a Drake worth fighting for.
Yeah, that's for sure. The only issue is it does feel like CFO have gotten what they wanted, right? And that's scaling time for Mission and Shun on these scaling carries who will outrange the side of PSG. And with this Renata as well, you know, even if they try and overforce a dive with the Gnar, the Vi, and the Nautilus, you have ways to easily turn things around. So I think CFO are in a bit more of a comfort spot, and if they get dove under this tier 1 tower, the response was there from Gemini once again. So far in the first 2 games, it does feel like Gemini has a good read on the situation and sort of out-jungled Bury to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big experience gap, right? I mean, Gemini has been a mainstay of PCS for a long time. Again, he was part of that Machi core back in 2020, and he's been playing, I think, going back to like 2017 even. Whereas Bury, this is his first Premier League. I mean, he was coming from Challengers Korea previously, and he's in a region where he's had to learn a new language himself, even from scratch, compared to Gory, who's had a little bit more time on an LPL roster and knows Mandarin. But that is a difference, and I think that's something that CFO have identified as a point of strength they can use. Gemini's also been really, really good at just being where he's needed for counterplays. Yeah, reading the map, but also being able to react. And I love the Sejuani flex because it's given CFO so many tools to work with in draft and beyond.
Yeah.
Skywing. It's caught. He's fine.
He's fine.
Again, he's a Nautilus. He's okay. Yeah, you know, that's Renata. She dead. Yeah, maybe.
Just a nice stat, though. Of course, with Nautilus, it is PCS Nautilus, right? So
that's true.
So far in playoffs, we've had 10 games in Nautilus. So far, it's had a 90% win rate. So
it's a good champion. It is. I will hear no slander against Nautilus. Other regions don't know how to play it. That doesn't mean it's. Yeah. It's a good champion.
So it does. It is, you know, that ray of hope when it comes to PSG fans who, you know, this game so far pretty slow. So both teams comfortable. I think the scaling champion.
I think it might speed up soon.
Oh yeah.
Even with Gemini, it's still a 3v4. That tower's going down. Weaver's wall to cut them off. It will get interrupted by Gemini, but on the opposite side, you can see Shun flashing over the wall into the lightning crash over. Koala's going to be left for dead, and Oh, they cut their losses down at 1, but clearly CFO were not ready for that collapse.
I'm surprised they didn't go for a teleport play with Mission. Him having the teleport available and knowing how telegraphed that dive was, definitely could have gone for it. They try and outplay it in a undermanned situation. Doesn't turn out very well. And PSG, they find the play that they were looking for, right? We talked about, hey, we open up Gory, and now Gory can roam and attack this bottom lane. That's exactly what happens. And for the side of PSG, they also get that first tower. So it's a 1,500 gold lead. Not the largest lead, but you'll take what you can get.
Well, and up against the side of CFO, who are legendarily solid in the laning phase, right? Having a lead at 16 minutes feels monumental, and you can see Gory has started to emerge as a bigger damage-dealing threat, going for a little bit of a slow roll on the build, but as the Seraph's already finished, or excuse me, not the Seraphs, what am I on about? Compared to the Ludens from Mission, so he gets himself his mythic first. There we go, there's the Seraphs. I was a few tier stacks away. Starting to see mythics come in through the board. Trinity Force for Hanabi, who has been able to hold his own against this Renekton, which means the table should turn a little bit in the later stages of the game. CFO clustering up in the mid and actually realizing it's a dangerous place to be, so they do respect the distance, and now both teams kind of looking at each other from across the river.
Hanabi with pretty sizable Gnar bar, so if a fight were to break out, he's in a position to respond and turn the fight very easily. Shun is going to have to play a little bit careful. Of course, he has his mythic completed, but the difference in mythic spikes is definitely notable, because Unify will be able to make some plays with his Gale Force. Also has a little bit of safety, whereas Shun, the Zeri again doesn't really come online until you hit 3 items. Even that 2 items can be a little bit tough.
Oh, they find Hanabi though, and his Narvar is not quite up yet. As they look for him, he actually is able to flash and hop away. For the second wind effort, here comes that hostile takeover, dodged and flashed by everybody, but PSG do lose a couple of crucial summoners for this dragon fight.
Yep.
I think they might have to cede the ground. Hanabi does not have TP just yet, so they back off, realizing maybe they can get some chip tower mid instead. Well, CFO Dragon Stack, it's online a little later this game, but it is online.
Yeah, and this time around, it's going to be a Mountain Soul, so this is going to be a very relevant soul. So the next 2 fights should come around this Dragon. Mountain, also very, very good for Zeri. Gotta be caught out, but, I mean, it's a 1v1 against Jungler, so he's perfectly comfortable there. We'll have to battle for the Krugs.
The battle for Krugs. It's the truest battle.
Absolutely. And Gory, you know, this time around, he gets to play forward with this Taliyah pick, whereas last game, he wasn't really put in a position to even have a chance to succeed. So, playing Taliyah from ahead, definitely a much different game than playing Taliyah from behind.
It was a better draft from PSG. I think they still gave over some power picks, but they didn't face as much early pressure from CFO due to the way the compositions panned out. I like this Vi, even though we haven't seen the cease and desist, I think, come out really once. The early gank pressure was still there, and Bury was able to keep pace with Gemini this time around, unlike what he did on the Trundle, which was kind of just fall behind. So Bury has definitely stepped it up in this series. I also think that the difference in lane pressure down bottom has kind of made all of the difference and allowed Kaiwing to roam. That combined with Hanabi just playing, you know, rather than taking the Renekton to try and survive early against an aggressive top like Rest, just giving it away, taking the Gnar matchup, even despite the nerfs, he's had a big impact, and now the Gnar ultimate is still a threat for those team fights that PSG are so good at.
And it's just another one of those tools that has a lot of team fight pressure, right? So another way to find a lot of CC to create space for then Unify to try and carry these fights. Also rocking the cleanse, so even if he does get hit by the hostile takeover, has a way to cleanse out of it. And
it's a very different game than game 1. I think we approached 20 minutes with like something like 8 or 9 kills at least. Now we have 20 minutes with 3 total, almost as many dragons, and even that's slow. but that's just nature of how things have shifted.
And that's also the difference between PSG when they're ahead, right? They slowed the game down really, really hard. They're not a team that pushed the pace.
Unified dodges. Good Gale Force pop. Just out of Gemini's range. You can see them looking. They're still fishing Nightstar, but they haven't been able to find it. Without that crucial ultimate now,
Wall
PSG gonna hit the go button. They find Gemini isolated, although he does get over the wall, shoved right back into it. The hostile takeover comes out to buy a tiny bit of time, but PSG, they know they've got the kill onto Gemini. And with Nari the wall, they've caught the Renekton as well into the handshake play. He flashes and slices and dices, so he'll stay alive, but gonna be burning that Dominus. No smite. If this was CFO on the other side, I'd say it's Baron time. PSG, they're a little less hasty than that as they go in for the big play. They find Mission, he pushes them back, but he still takes the damage. Unified with the finisher after that Moonlight Vigil. And PSG just know the limits of what they can get away with.
Oh, Shun, he's searching, trying to find any sort of target he could chase down with the extra movement speed, but unfortunately unable to find anyone there. That's also the reality of the situation. Only 1.5 item on Zeri. Even if these fights do get a little bit chaotic and a little bit messy, Zeri doesn't quite have the damage to fully capitalize on the situation quite yet. As we get to see, it starts off with the Ice Bulla, does come short. Really nice play from Unified to dodge out. But not too shabby of a trade, right? You're okay with trading those cooldowns, but this is where, you know, PSG do showcase some of the team fight power they have, right? Wall comes in, they're able to play a bit of an isolated situation there. They also get the follow-up CP onto Rest to force out his flash. And this is yet another overextension coming in from Mission. He still hasn't built a stopwatch, which for most part, a lot of these mid laners are going to build stopwatch early on for these team fights. Mission isn't one of those players. He just builds more and more damage, just saying, I'm good enough that you're not going to punish me, but I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, Brains versus Brawn, and I think PSG's Brains winning out right now. Have themselves about a 2,500 gold advantage in their favor, and kills on Gory, a kill on Unified as well. He picked that one up, and now Lord Dominic sends his regards. So with the Mountain Dragon live on the Rift, PSG have the inside track. They can cut the legs off this Drake stack, but CFO, it's not as easy of a Baron take, but they could still threaten it, and you have to think it's a team that is just crazy enough to commit to it. If they get the catch, it's going to be Mission once again caught by PSG. Cease and desist as he shoves him in, but that only helps PSG as a big multi-man Gnar against the wall.
Still alive,
they can open up here, but Shun trying to do the work as they try to fire down Hanabi. They will get the kill on the second one after Rest gets a bit of a bail up, but now the turnabout happens again as they lose the Croc.
Wall comes through.
You have the Weaver's Wall coming through. They've isolated Shun, taking him out, and Koal the double into the triple, and Gory is on the board. Huge this game. That's going to be the Baron play.
And it's such a big punish onto Mission once more. Doesn't build the stopwatch, a key cooldown that they need to stay alive in the vent. They try and go for a pick. And the tools, the safety tools he has just aren't quite enough. Bury, though, exceptionally low. He still wants to stick around to use the smite, and it's really a smite fight, and he does fall short. Mission there to just say hello to his fallen jungler.
Yeah, you know, I feel like you have to try that, Gemini. Like, at this point, you know the other jungler's low. It's a 50-50. Like, you pull off the play and you're a hero. Sometimes you're a zero. But you know what? It's worth it. It's worth the try.
It's definitely worth the try because it's still, again, a very young jungler. So you want to test the nerve as we see, again, he doesn't have the flash up and he plays this far forward, doesn't respect the catch potential on side of PSG, get punished there, and this looked like it could have been a Zeri moment. And if this was 3-item Shun, it definitely would have been a Zeri moment. But it's not, because it's not 3-item Shun. So a big difference with power spikes has allowed PSG to now play their macro game and slowly just outmaneuver CFO.
taking control. And look at the item difference in the mid. I mean, Mission had a great time last time around. Still had some positional errors, but wasn't punished nearly as hard. This game, it's a huge difference. Gory is fully online in a carry role because the Talia, just finding the frontline picks, has been nailing these seismic shoves to just set up the play. And Mission, yeah, no stopwatch here. It's going to be the Shadow Flame.
He could have stopwatch. He could have had stopwatch because, you know, it's about 450 for the Amp Tone, and you can sell your Doran's Ring. But now the wall comes through.
Yeah, I think the slow tilts come in here. Mission is having a hard time with the Weaver's Wall, cutting them off from that tower. PSG polish off another one on the Baron push. And you see the difference in how these two teams win games, Night Star. We saw in Game 1 how CFO prefers to play, and now this is PSG, a page ripped straight out of their playbook.
PSG with the 7K gold lead, and with no Dragon Soul on the table, this is them just taking the game at their pace. Eventually,
you got scaling to match.
Eventually, they are going to have to pull the trigger, though, right? Because Shun, once he gets to that third item, with the fact that it's Mountain Rift, it does get incredibly scary because these choke points are going to become a lot more constricted to try and sidestep these electric charged lasers. So that is something to hopefully not look forward to if you're PSG, right? So you do
gotta close it out soon.
Try and find the killer blow sooner rather than later.
CFO are going to mobilize to try and defend this. But they've got Hanabi on the side lane. He's more than a match for Rest at this point, especially once the Narbar is up. And Wave clear is still there for CFO, so they can actually stop this for now. Hanabi just trying to keep this jungle clear so they can get their flank on as he throws a few more boomerangs into Rest back. It's going to be the end of that for now. Baron has been outlasted, but they lost a few towers for it.
Yeah, Gory 6-0-2, incredibly strong. If he finds a pick, he can definitely burst anyone out at this point.
Ooh, they've got him locked up for just a second. Even though they take Gory out of the fight, I still favor PSG in this one. Although the Gnar was a little bit late on the uptake, and here's the turn from CFO. A second time again, linking health bars, but
Mission's
they do have themselves a tower in their safety zone. Rest,
the hook
Hanabi, they hook back unified, and it's a big old shutdown. CFO, they're back in the game.
And it comes off the back of a pick on to Gory. Still has a stopwatch available. The chain CC was just way too good from CFO. They managed to just choke him out and finish him off before the stopwatch is able to come through. That's actually a game changer because you see he has that flash available. If he's able to stopwatch, buy more time, flash out, reset the fight. Remember how much damage is on him? He would have been able to mop the rest of it, but because he goes down early, it makes life so difficult for Unified. As again, like, he's able to throw out the ultimate, but look at how many autos he's able to get. He's autoing this turret because of how far forward the rest of his team is, so unable to follow up on the damage. By the time he's actually able to start autoing, the fight's already over. He's got no friends left, and they just easily turn on to him.
Yeah, that was huge. It seemed like both teams wanted to make the play at the exact same moment, but Gemini's ultimate was critical there. And clearly, PSG just weren't ready to make the full play. You had Hanabi around the side as Narbar wasn't fully up yet, so he couldn't commit to the play. When he finally did, it was a big multi-man Gnar, but it was way too late. So now, CFO have an opportunity back into this game. There will be a Mountain Dragon coming up in 40 seconds. Baron just 10 seconds after that. PSG know this. They have to set up for the set play. But CFO, they've got all their tools. They've got a fair bit of their summoner spells left. So do PSG. I think we might be in for a proper 5v5.
Pyra, Mission, he does have the Void Staff.
Yes, he does. Still no stopwatch, but at least there's 6 stacks on the Dark Steel. He's just got to position better, man. This is Mission living dangerously, all right? It's what he does.
Yes.
Mission improbable.
And it's going to boil down which mid laner gets picked off. I think that's what the fight is going to boil down to. A huge zap comes
Weaver's
out.
Wall. That Weaver's Wall isn't going to be the engage, though. It's a defensive play. Now they look for a second wind. It's CFO. They might be daring PSG to just flip for the
this
dragon.
Is a dragon
I mean,
soul, so
yeah.
Baron is a better trade out for the side of CFO. I like this move coming in from them. They don't have vision control around the dragon, right? So this is huge. The side of PSG, what do?
Already down to half its hit points. They're looking to snap the trap shut. Hanabi on the side doesn't quite have the Narbar just up. This will come down to the smite it's taken, but do they have the fight on the opposite side of this one? Hanabi just whiffs it on the Nar ultimate. You can see Shun completely untouchable. Will they be able to find this fight? Hanabi a little bit low, backs away. Mission Gemini taken very low into the back of the pit, but nobody's there. They're going to keep moving on this one. Mission staying alive. Rest with a chase down Unified on the run. And they lose Kaiwing, they lose Bury. They don't take a Baron down with the TP back into mid. CFO just going to go from objective to objective.
This is a bit of a premature TP coming in from Mission, but the side of CFO, they will turn their attention over to this Mountain Dragon, and it does look like they just want everything. They're grabbing the red buff on their way out, and Mission, with that teleport, able to secure mid lane wave pressure. That CFO can be a little bit more greedy and secure the dragon afterwards. You see the replay. Claw does a fantastic job of just zoning Hanabi off until the very end, but remember, Shun's on the Zeri, so you can't lock them down. They don't have any backline pressure. Where's the backline pressure? And on the flip side, Unified, he gets caught by Rest. And once more, like the Philios, yes, he can do a lot of damage, but against this composition of CFO, he doesn't have the range to compete against the Azir, against the Zeri.
Yeah, that's the problem. They needed to get in there a little sooner, and you can start to see some of the limitations. Hanabi was kept at arm's length. Shun was able to stay safe. And Hostile Takeover did a little bit of work, bought some time. At the very least, split the team up. And I think that's the critical thing, is that now CFO, they've got the Baron buff on. They've got Soul Point. And Rest is not useless on this Renekton. With that Gargoyles build, he's just going to be a big old stat stick to absorb all of the pressure.
And he has a stopwatch.
He does. It's going to be harder to take him down.
Guess who still doesn't have one?
Well, hey, in his defense, in Mission's defense, he's got 8 stacks on the seal. He's got a needlessly large rod. He's got no room, right? What he has to sell something, Nightstar.
This time he has a large rod. So, you know, he's packing a ton of damage. But if they find the pick onto Mission, that's a big takedown, because even if you do get onto Shun, he has the escape tools, and he also has a stopwatch of his own. So it's very hard to lock down Shun in this instance. So all your attention is onto Mission. So he's basically playing bait, right? Because Shun, level 16. So he's got the maximum amount of zoomies, along with the 3.5 items, means he should be able to clean up these fights if too many cooldowns are burned onto the Zero.
Yeah, right now there's not much to take on the map except jungle, so CFO are doing exactly that, hoping to bait PSG out of their comfort zone. This tower in the top could fall pretty quickly, and Hanabi's not really got the Narbar to try and defend it, but the rest of the team is at his back. The next dragon may very well decide the game, as it is going to be Soul Point for CFO. For PSG, they need to keep this one going, but they got to that dangerous point. Nightstar, you were talking about it like 10 minutes ago. Hey, PSG, they're in control, but they're going to have to start making plays. They did, but they lost out. And all of a sudden, CFO, they got back in the game. They got the tempo advantage. They've got pushing lanes now. But they will have to go home, as there's nothing for them to take here.
They have a massive scaling advantage as well. Though the big difference here for the side of PSG is that they have ways to punish over extensions. Right? Before, they weren't able to force the catch because they were on a Renata, they were on a Trundle. This time around, they have plenty of catch tools. Difference is, they also need a little bit of damage to finish off those picks.
They need Gory to stay alive. It really comes down to these mid laners, right?
Yeah, he still has stopwatch. Hasn't used it yet.
Wouldn't you rather have an 8-stack Dark Seal?
No.
At this point, he'd probably have a Medjai's, actually. But, yeah.
Yes, if it was a 20-stack Medjai's, you better believe I'm taking that 20-stack Medjai's.
Corey doesn't seem like a casual Medjai's enjoyer, though. I think he really needs to make sure he's got that stack before he builds it.
You know, fair enough. Mission, though. He seems like a guy who would upgrade to Medjai's if he was on 4-stack. You know,
What's he waiting for?
he has been sort of playing the ego game, of saying, "Hey, I am just too good of a player that you cannot touch me." Unfortunately, it's bit him in the butt 3 times.
It has, but I mean, hey, all things considered, the picks have been fairly impactful on both sides. I mean, that PSG are still really feeling the sting of the one-time Gory got caught. Buying time here, CFO just keeping these waves cleared. It's going to be Dragon and Baron up pretty soon, and I think CFO can try and bait it out both ways, but that soul is very tantalizing.
So very, very tantalizing. And if CFO are able to get into the river early on, it makes it incredibly difficult for PSG. But CFO perhaps a little
teleport
bit
flank?
greedy with the...
This is in vision. Rest
good
gonna
luck,
be
Rest.
completely caught, and he slices, gets stunned, tries to dice it out. There's the Dominus on, buying a little
Team is
time. The
catching
team
up.
scrambles to get to him. He's forced to flash away, and they use Gemini's Ice Bullet defensively. CFO, that was an extremely optimistic play, and it gets smelled out immediately. PSG ping out Dragon.
They're going to turn their attention over to the Dragon, but remember, PSG, they may be able to deny Soul, but it doesn't change the fact that the side of CFO, they can just get Baron, right? Because they
right
get
back
a
to
choice.
it.
They have a choice in the
It's
matter.
already
Now,
down.
PSG,
Flash and dash, here we go. Kaiwing, they're going to go in this one. They do manage to get a big burst on to Mission, and he gets a bailout just in time for the Emperor's Divide. Do they have enough to take this one down? The Baron's still alive in this qualifying time. Here comes Shun, going huge, and Gemini on the front line, buying even more here. Koala getting taken out by the Baron on the back. It's going to be Unified going so low, but Gemini, no, he falls. Shun, he gets the kill. Shoved, no damage to follow up the triple down for the Zeri. Finally goes down, but Gori and Nanabi are still hanging tough in this one. Koala is desperately trying to back. He's forced to flash away. Woo! What a fight.
What a fight. PSG finally managed to find the 5v5. And it comes at the best time yet. Around that Baron buff with Soul Dragon up and available, they are able to find those kills on the Baron, get the extra gold, and now they can also turn their attention and deny Dragon Soul Mission.
Caught again.
Caught out.
No stopwatch. Mission does get a bailout at the very least,
but that's it.
Yeah.
That's all his contributions in this fight. And even though Shun and Unified were untouched, the moment Shun takes the straight up 1v1 against Unified, that's exactly the situation he wants for Unified, right? Because it's in those few situations that an Aphelios will beat out on the Zeri. Otherwise, Zeri just slowly whittles everyone down. But now it's PSG turning the attention over to the Baron, having that Dragon taken off the table.
Yep. Already off the board. Weaver's Wall gets cut up every bit of Gemini here, and he just gets locked up.
He doesn't have
to be secured. He doesn't, but the chase isn't there. CFO. Okay. This time they hesitate a little bit. So PSG off the back of that fight, off that opportunity they were given. Ball is back in their court. They take full advantage of it by cutting the Drake stack down again and getting the Baron for themselves. Ooh, nice start. This game just keeps on swinging. It is 38 and a half minutes. We're in the late game now.
So tense. And
I do like that skin on Rest, by the way. I wanted to say that all game, but we finally had a bit of downtime. Nice start. That's like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Renekton. That looks like a dual disc. Look at that thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's time to duel. 1v1 me top lane, bro.
Unfortunately, he hasn't had the opportunities to take the straight-up duels against Hanabi.
Not this time.
Yeah, he's had his moments against Unified, though. And
that's true. Surprisingly.
Yeah, taking stock of the itemization, we have the Zhonya's completed by Gory, so he's still going to be very difficult to catch out. Finally, we do have Mission buying up the stopwatch after he secures himself the wizard hat. And Shun also onto a GA, so he's full build. The big ticket champions are max damage.
Kaiwing able to get away as the dredge line windup was already completed. And Gemini burns his Glacial Prison. That's a difference maker. Unified, though, clipped by the Ultra Shock laser. Yeah, Shun is starting to sting. It may be no 9-kill Draven, but it's still a Zeri with full build.
Yeah, late game Zeri, just so much outrange potential. And also look at Koala. He's built himself a Zanya's as well. So this is probably the last fight.
Tower goes down. Weaver's Wall does allow PSG to just finish that one off. They're right back to the mid lane now as the minions come in, making the most of their Baron. Still have a minute on it. Hanabi's Narbar must be respected. PSG, they're breaking the base on this one. That's number 2 tower. They haven't got the inhibs, though.
Quarter side of TFO, you're just looking for a little bit of chip damage. You have the extra range with the Zir, with the Zeri. If you chunk out one of these frontline tanks to 50%, that forces PSG to go ahead back off. It's difficult for them to overforce the issue. But PSG go for the recall, reset the situation. 2 minutes until Mountain Dragon. CFO still have that as a win condition, because if you look on the side of PSG, again, the Unified would be really the only person that's really able to punch through this mountain shield along with the extra resistances. Even though Talia, very strong, doesn't quite have that late game either.
Yeah, rocks on rocks, not quite as much damage as you would hope for. CFO looking for that win condition to bolster their defenses and therefore be able to go in without fear. Stopwatch for mission may yet be the difference maker. 41.5 minutes on the game clock.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Look at Rest's build.
He's tanky boy.
No, it's not just that. He has GA and he has Gargoyle. If you needed more stasis or survivability, it's harder to get more than that. He's also
looking the best you
looking
can do at this point
to get the Randuins, and with this build, he takes a pretty decent chunk of damage against Talia. But this is a pure, I'm a 1v1 you Unified, and you can't outplay me.
Rest definitely shown he's confident enough even in the late game Renekton. CFO looking to death ball this up. PSG split it out. Next Dragon coming up, 20 seconds. Man, we've had so many Elemental Drakes this game. Can you believe it's a 42-minute game and the Elder hasn't made an appearance yet? The shove onto Gemini, they pull him back, they bait the trap, and that's going to be the jungler gone. Furry!
Hanabi on the backside.
That's going to be that
Ultimate
not quite enough. Maybe they can get enough out for this back one. That's going to be mission. He gets caught. He's taken down. Unified's there. Showed in the back line, but he doesn't have any backup. And now he gets popped into his stasis. But they've surrounded him here. Shun trying for the outplays. He opts the wall. Looks to bait this out. Here's Rest and Quella. So many of these stasis effects, but they're not going down just yet. Shun gets outplayed. Gory on the side. That's going to be everyone but Rest out of this, who finally falls with the death timers so hot. PSG going to do this one.
And PSG, they even up the score in the series. It's 1-1. And as we said pre-game, it comes down to PSG executing better in the 5v5s. And this time around, they weren't far enough behind in the early mid-game that they were able to dictate the game at their own pace. And CFO found their moments, but it wasn't enough.
We got ourselves a series on our hands.